Hello, Cherries fans, and a happy Thursday to you. And why am I saying happy? Well, it's been announced that after this seemingly long drawn out saga, highly rated Alex Scott from Bristol City is finally a Cherry. He's joined on a permanent deal. It's rumoured to be around the value of £20 million with another £5 million perhaps in performance related add-ons. But what can he add to AFC Bournemouth? What kind of player is he? We're all obviously delighted. It's one that's been on the lips of many a Cherry for quite a while. But we're going to chat to Ben Mead, who's with us here, Bristol City fan, and also Robin's on tour. And also, you're an
Yeah,
FCA award winner as well, aren't you?
yeah, yeah. I won the Silver Award last year for Young Content Creator.
Love that from you. Love that from you. Right, immediate thoughts. I'm going to be sensitive. How are you feeling, mate?
I mean, it's one of those ones where every Bristol City fan knew it was going to happen at some point, and obviously it's dragged on so much. With obviously you guys and Wolves all putting in bids, and I mean, as much as we knew it was going to happen, it's still absolutely gutting. And I mean, you can see most of the City fans on Twitter all now having a bit of a meltdown, and it's quite sad to see him go. If I'm honest, especially like Tommy Conway injured now as well with a hamstring injury until Christmas. It's not looking too good. So I mean, although everyone knew it was going to happen at some point, it doesn't make it any easier.
And it is mad, and I can see why. Because I mean, if you look at the two clubs, apart from league position, you would say Bristol City is probably the bigger club. So it has to be a little bit raw, I suppose, knowing that he's off to Bournemouth. He obviously had the option of Wolves, but they're seemingly in disarray at the moment. But this lad, talk to me about him then. He's only 19 years old, but it seems like from what everyone's saying, he's got the world at his feet. What makes him so good?
He's incredible. He's one of those players where even when a team are having a bad game and you're losing, he's still going to be playing well and making things happen. Um, I mean, for Bournemouth, I think he's obviously you've got Semenyo as well from City as well. Their link up when they were at City was incredible, and since Semenyo left, Alex Scott's become probably 2-3 times the player he was when Semenyo was there as well. So it's gonna be good to see them both back together. To be fair, shame it's in a Bournemouth shirt, not a City
Hmm.
shirt there.
And also Lloyd Kelly as well. It seems that every so
Yeah.
often we just have a look what's going on at Ashton Gate and just grab a player from you. So what position does he play in? And do you expect him to be? I mean, of course he's out for a while with a bit of an injury for a few weeks, but do you think once he is fit, he should be a player that should be starting every week for Bournemouth?
Oh yeah. I think he gets into most Premier League clubs, maybe bar Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal. But apart from that, I think he's got a good chance of starting in pretty much every single other Premier League club. He's sort of like, that cam sort of position, attacking midfielder just behind the strikers. But I mean, we saw at Bristol City, he can play pretty much anywhere. During his early stages with us, he you know sat in at right back for a few games when our right back was injured. He's sat deeper in midfield, but where we've seen him best at Bristol City and where you probably get the most out of him is that creative midfielder who's able to pass the ball along and dribble past players. But the only thing he doesn't really have is, well, while he was at Bristol City, he didn't really have the end product. So I mean, he's such a great player. So that sort of cam areas where best for him. But if he could add goals to his game, he'd be one hell of a player.
I remember in that FA Cup match that you had against Man City at your place. So he,
Yeah.
he earned he earned a lot of plaudits from Pep Guardiola. I think he described him as an unbelievable player or something like that. But he's also got international experience, of course. England
Yeah.
under 19. He was in that squad that won the UEFA Championship in 2022, and he's known as the Guernsey Grealish. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's you see that a lot. His game is a lot like Grealish, but obviously a bit more central. Um, you know, in that Man City game, for example, there's a clip where I think he starts on the halfway line, he draws past pretty much all of Man City's midfield, and then gets to the defenders and lays it off. And I mean, that's what you see. If he can do it against the likes of Man City in the cup, whilst I think we're already 2-0 down as well. If he can do that against Man City, then he can do it against anyone.
Do you think that this was the right time for him to go? I mean, do you think that he could have been snapped up any earlier, or would you rather you sort of held out for as long as you could have?
I mean, I think we did hold on for as long as we could have, to be fair. We set that 25 million mark, and I think personally, I thought we were gonna keep him, especially when you guys put the first bid in, which I think was about 15 million. And obviously, Wolf came in with 22, and then it all seemed to go quiet for 2, 3 weeks, and then the news of a knock in training came up, and then I think that's when most Bristol City fans came to the realization that he'd gone. Um, but yeah, it is a weird one. I think it is the right time for him to go. If I'm honest, I mean, I think he could have definitely had another season at Bristol City, and he wouldn't have gone down in value at all. But I mean, it's just that worry that if he did stay at Bristol City, and then at like this injury he's got, if he picked up a worse injury through the season, and then that could throw off everything. So I think leaving Bias at the door, I think this probably was the best time for him to leave, and for both clubs as well. Obviously, Bournemouth, you're building a really good squad over there. I believe you're getting Max Aarons as well, some point in the window, and obviously Bristol City have got 25 million, which we probably need. If I'm being honest, we probably should try and look to still probably obviously get a striker in now. Tommy Conway's gone, injured, and probably a backup goalkeeper as well. So if I'm being honest, yeah, I think it's probably the right time for him to go. And as I said, Bristol have got 25 million in the bank. You guys have got a quality footballer.
What's
So yeah.
what's the feeling like amongst Robins fans at the moment? Is there any resentment or like bitterness after it, or you just are most people sort of almost resigned to the fact that he was going to move on eventually?
Yeah. I think it's a bit depressing if I'm honest. Like I saw a lot of people, especially on Twitter and stuff, and at the game yesterday, we beat Oxford 5-1 in the cup, and I mean it was still a depressing day because as soon as kickoff happened, all the news was spreading about him having his medicals. But I mean, as you said, I think there's no bitterness for it now. I mean, it's one of those ones where we all expected him to go. I mean, I remember QPR last game of the season. Um, 5 minutes after full time, we were just singing the Alex Scott chant to him, and he was just looking up at the window. I think same happened against Burnley at our last home game. So I think that's the point when everyone sort of knew it was going to happen. And I mean, I'm a bit annoyed that it has dragged on this long. It's given us this false hope that there's a chance he's going to stay when realistically we knew he was going to be a Premier League footballer this season.
And in terms of if you had to, I mean, obviously if you talked him up quite a bit, but if you could say that there's some improvement that could be made to his game, whereabouts would you say it is? I mean, is it in those numbers that you were talking about earlier?
Yeah, end product, 100%. I mean, I think I'm not sure the exact stat, but I think it's like he scored less than 10 goals for us. I think it was like 8 or something. The assists as well, he got quite a few assists, but for the amount of good media attention he got, he probably should have got a few more goals and a few more assists. And I mean, if he can add that to his game this season in the Premier League, if he could get maybe 15 goals a season from Cam and 10, 15 assists as well, then yeah, he'll be a hell of a player. And I'm sure if he can get that end product up this season, Gareth Southgate's got to be looking at him for an England spot sooner rather than later.
I know that you drew your first game of the season at home to Preston, and obviously the cup win. But what do you expect this season? What are you hoping for? Because to me, Bristol City has always been this like sleeping giant, and it is a city that needs Premier League football, probably deserves it. But sometimes you sort of flirt with the playoffs, but you haven't really been that close of late. What are you hoping for?
Yeah, not wrong. And I mean, I laughed at it's quite a funny one because everyone at the start of the season, obviously, we made some really good signings, and in pre-season we were very good. We were beating, although they were League One and League Two clubs, we were beating them. I think we beat like Newport 8-0, we beat Swindon 7-1, and then obviously Oxford 5-1 in the cup. But I mean, from going from everyone hoping this could be the year we go on that playoff push once again. I think it's going to be probably the same as the last few seasons. It's going to be upper mid-table, that sort of 12 to 15 sort of area. I mean, especially losing Scott. Although we looked really good yesterday without him, I think it's one of those players you can't really replace, especially as a fan favourite as well. And I mean, especially from the first game of the season as well, it didn't look much different from last season, if I'm being honest. I'm hoping, we can bring on that form from the cup. Obviously, Hayden Roberts made his debut, and he looks very, very good. So it's a weird one. I mean, you take a draw against Preston at home, but first game of the season, you're hoping for a bit more. And I mean, I think it's all going to depend on the next few games. We've got Millwall away on Saturday, which is going to be very, very tough. I think that will sort of set the mark for where we're going to be this season. If we can come out of the next few, I think we've got Millwall, Hull, Birmingham, and Swansea, I think, are our next four. I might be missing one. But I mean, if we could come out of there with maybe 8 to 10 points, something like that, that will obviously be a huge boost for the season. And I think the next, 4 or 5 games will really make a set mark for where we're going to be throughout the season.
So in terms of Alex Scott, it's funny. Football's like almost like a food chain where players always jump to the next role in their career. They're like always trying to make that step up. We've had it. We're obviously somewhat down the food chain ourselves. There's players that we've had like Nathan Ake, who moved on to Man City, Callum Wilson, Newcastle, Aaron Ramsdale, Arsenal. If you feel as though Alex Scott's career is going to stay on this upward trajectory, presuming he leaves Bournemouth at some point, who would be the club that he would be likely to join? Say in, I don't know, he has 2 good seasons. Who would he be joining?
Well, if let's be honest, I think Bournemouth are, they're looking a good side at the moment. I think they're probably going to be staying in an established Premier League club over the next few years. So a next step would obviously be, a top 6 Premier League club. I mean, if I was him, I'd be looking for one of the teams that breaking into Europe and are looking like Alex Scott's looking upwards. They're looking up, so like some Newcastle or Villa or Brighton, someone like that. But I mean, you mentioned Nathan Ake that I could easily see. Obviously, you mentioned earlier that Pep Guardiola is a big fan of Alex Scott as well. I could easily see over the next few years, as the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Rodri all get on a bit and looking to leave Man City. If Alex Scott's still, the player is at the moment, still on upwards trajectory, then I could definitely see him, playing in Europe and playing for England and over the next few years.
Ben, you're making me excited, mate. You're making me really excited.
You really should be. I mean, everyone at Bristol City gutted that he's gone, and I mean, he ripped up he didn't rip up the Championship, but a mid-table Bristol City team over the last few years, he's definitely been that star. And I really hope he can, have a stellar career and starting off at Bournemouth.
Brilliant stuff. All right, Ben. Well, whereabouts can people watch what you do?
So I'm on YouTube, just like you guys. Just search out Robins on Tour on YouTube. Usually do match day stuff, but this season I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm doing sort of like a series following City season, but obviously I've got a load of stuff from last season, a load of interviews, speaking to fans, that sort of stuff. Yeah, that's Robins on Tour on YouTube.
Robins on Tour on YouTube. Brilliant. Make sure you check that out in the description below. Yeah, Ben, thank you very much for coming on, mate. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me, and enjoy Alex Scott.
Thank you very much. We will do. So there you go, Cherries. That's what Ben says about our main man, Alex Scott. And maybe, just maybe, there'll be another signing around the corner with Max Aarons. Stay tuned for that. But until the next video, up the Cherries.